Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the New York City HUG. This is the Q1 HUG for 2021, another virtual event here brought to you by Mori Creative Studios. My name is John Sasala. I'm the president of Mori Creative. We are the New York City chapter HUG leaders. To kick things off, and in the spirit of accessibility, for anybody who might be attending that can't necessarily see, or maybe you happen to be driving and you are joining into this event and you can't see what's going on here, I just wanted to describe who I am. A middle-aged white man wearing my black uniform. It's a Mori Creative fleece, and I am set up at home. I've got a dog scratching at the door behind me, and speaking of accessibility, we are on a new platform here for these hugs. This is a platform called Bevy, and we have not figured out live captioning for this specific platform yet. We know it's something that's important. If you're coming in and you can't hear, you're reading lips right now. But something did just roll out. I'm going to share this in chat in case people can't hear me. Something did just roll out on the Google Chrome browser. You have now the ability to enable live captioning. It's taken the technology that I think was rolled out on Android phones that was able to do this, and they've rolled it out to the browser. So any audio that's coming through your browser is now captioned inside of your browser, and it does a really great job. So if you do need captions live during this event, you can enable that. If you don't have access to that, I do apologize. This event will be recorded and shared with everybody who registered after the fact, and it will have full captions. So that will be coming at you, but I apologize if you're trying to event and having trouble hearing. Today's presentation is something that I'm really excited to bring to everybody. Coming into this new platform, we have the ability to ask people who register for events, what topics are you interested in? And just to kind of give you an idea of what people responded with, going through different options, the top 4 things that people would like to see presentations on are content strategy, lead nurturing, sales strategy, and conversion rate optimization. There are some other topics that we threw in there that were, towards the top. Video strategy, a lot of workshops were requested, interested in information around podcasting. But those top 4, content strategy, lead nurturing, sales strategy, and conversion rate optimization, those are ideas for the future, but they're also things that we're going to be talking about here today. When we bring on Chris Brisson from Salesmsg, he's going to talk about how we can leverage text messaging in an inbound playbook. It works really well for sales. It works great for content marketing. It works great for servicing a team. So we really do hit on all these high notes. And I'm excited to bring Chris to everybody today. Before I let you do your full bio, I don't have a bio to read for folks, so I'm going to let you do that. But before we do, just a little bit of housekeeping. When we're using this platform, Bevy, there is a chat on the right-hand panel. If you click on chat, and there you can introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming in from. We also have a Q&A tab there, and we're going to hold the last 10 or 15 minutes of this presentation for Q&A. And when someone posts a question, if you have a similar question, you can just upvote their question. Or if somebody happens to ask a question that you're also interested in, feel free to upvote that. So yeah, we're going to reserve the last few minutes here for Q&A, so please use that. But yeah, keep the conversation going there in the chat as well. Introduce yourself as you join in. We'd be excited to have you come in and say hello. I also wanted to remind people or make people aware that HubSpot's done a lot of great stuff on the community.hubspot.com. They've evolved the way that we coordinate our HUG events, and we now have a dedicated message board for the New York City chapter. And I'll throw some more links in there so you can find that, bookmark that, subscribe so that you're notified whenever we post over there. But as new events come out, we're going to be talking about them there. That's where the recordings will be shared. That can be found at community.hubspot.com. You just have to search for New York or New York City, and you'll find our group. So with that, I think we can hand this over to Chris. Chris, thank you so much for joining us here today. You and I have a great relationship. It goes back to about 2019. I was leaving Inbound, the last in-person Inbound, and I got a phone call. It was a marathon of 4 days for us, going to events and networking and meeting people. And I got a phone call on my drive home. I was cross-eyed how exhausted I was. And I got a call from Sophie Saltzman, who's our channel account manager over at HubSpot. And she said, "Are you still here? I have somebody that you absolutely have to meet." So you and her were talking, and we ended up
She's a
pairing
good
them. I think
salesperson.
she's
She's a
so good.
great
She's
salesperson.
so good. And she really does do a great job of connecting people and making sure that they can help each other. But that was our introduction. And from there, we learned of Salesmsg, learned of your tool, learned how we could be leveraging it for our clients. And I'm just so madly in love with this platform. And I'm sure you're going to cover this in your presentation. But the power of text messaging and leveraging this channel that is so intimate and close to people and opens up authentic conversations, just in love with it. So we've been working together ever since, and our relationship continues to evolve. So personally, I want to thank you for coming on here, Chris. It's really great to have you on, and I'm excited to bring this to our audience. So with that, Chris, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little introduction, tell us kind of who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing.
Sure. Well, John, thank you so much. I know you've been doing these hug events, and it always was on our list to really share some of that value. So what I will do, John, I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen, and we can probably get into that. And I'll get into my bio in just a minute here. But again, John, thanks so much. I'm really excited for today because I want to share with everybody how they can use text messaging in your business. And so that's a big, broad sort of, well, how do you use text messaging in your business? Definitely break out a pen. If you're a pen and a paper type person, take some notes because this whole presentation is very actionable. It's not just theory. It's not just talking about texting and some stats, but it's really, let me show you exactly how to implement this in your business and more importantly, in your HubSpot account. So the topic today, it's actually a term we coined. It's called textize your business. And I want to show you how to turn text into your #1 growth driver. And so it's a big statement. And I want to show you and prove it to you on why we believe that it can be your #1 growth driver. So again, John, thank you so much. And I am looking forward to it. So maybe just a housekeeping here. I want to make sure, can you guys see my screen okay? John, can you see my screen? Just want to make sure that I
Yeah, looking
don't.
good.
Okay, perfect. So just a little bit of background about myself. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but back in 2009, started a company called Call Loop. It's actually an integration into HubSpot as well. But about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, started Call Loop. And Call Loop is voice messaging, ring this voicemail. It does SMS really on the marketing side, so text to join type stuff. But needless to say, been in messaging for a long time. And so the benefit is we've been able to see a lot, really, what works, what is not working, what's the state of messaging, where's messaging going, where was it, and how people are using it, and more importantly, how businesses are using it to really scale their companies, really grow. And so we've sent a lot of messages. And when you send a lot of messages, you have data and you have insight, and you can really understand what works. And so we serve a lot of companies, small companies, mid companies, large enterprises. So these are just some of the logos that Call Loop, but also Salesmsg has served over the last couple of years. And so I want to share with everybody really what I call 3 secrets to turn tiny text into big time sales. Now again, sales is a function right within the organization, but really think of the different hubs across HubSpot. You have sales, you have marketing, you have customer support. And so texting will fit in this whole world of textizing your business, how to add that. So throughout this presentation, we are going to fill in the blanks, right? And reveal what these 3 secrets are. And so just to sort of kick it off, just to set a baseline on why SMS. And so Dan Martell is actually one of my mentors. He says SMS has generated about $90,000 in additional business each month. And how did they do that? Well, they decreased no-shows by 20%. So if you have meetings or you have appointments or you're doing demos or webinars or any sort of in-person meeting or scheduling, we're going to show you how to decrease that. Critical inflow process, right? So how to follow up with SMS, how to engage with SMS, how to not be annoying with SMS. An uptick in conversation rates on follow-up, right? Why we believe conversations is actually the key to growth. Automation, how to automate this in HubSpot, and the team doesn't have to use their personal cell phone. So all of those things combined really help Dan add SMS, to grow his business. And that actually came from one of their sales engineers. And so here's a big core belief. So we believe, Salesmsg as a company, we believe that having conversations with our leads, with our customers is really good for business. And if you're a part of HubSpot, my belief is you probably believe that too. I mean, HubSpot's entire philosophy is built around inbound. And so what is inbound? Well, inbound conversations, inbound email follow-up, inbound, all of that. And so we have that same belief as well. Because, well, but creating conversations with leads and customers has become a lot harder, right? So how many folks have been trying to create conversations? Maybe it's through email, through all these different channels, but it actually has become a lot harder. Well, we're going to dive into a little bit about that. And more importantly, like why? Why is that actually a thing? And so when you look at the two most common channels, you have phone and you have email. Now, granted, there's direct mail and Facebook Messenger and all those other tools, but these are really the main things, especially when you're capturing that information on a form, right? It's a phone or it's an email. Now let's dive into a little bit here. I'm going to breeze through this fairly quickly. I don't want to dive into too much stats because I want to get to the meat here. But 84% don't answer calls from unknown number. I'm in that mix. 74% won't listen to the voicemails when a voicemail comes through, and 95% won't take action or won't even respond to those voicemails. So I'm in that mix. This is actually a screenshot of my phone. Apple actually came out with a feature, and that feature is called silenced calls. In other words, they are silencing phone calls that that you don't want to get. And so this whole world of unwanted calling, platforms like Apple and Google have created technology to limit that, to at least keep that channel of calling somewhat normal. But what this does for businesses is, well, geez, if Apple's creating technology to block these calls, no one is picking up their phone anyway. Oh my gosh, how are we going to get in touch with people? And so you've probably heard this, don't leave me a voicemail, just text me, right? This person's voicemail inbox is full. This person doesn't have their voicemail set up. And so that's a channel, may not be working as well. The other side is you have email. So email inboxes are flooded. Emails going to spam. And so the filters, declining open and response rates. And even if they do open, they don't reply. And it's just not what it used to be. And so the whole idea here is, where is that conversation happening? How do I create a conversation? How do I engage with those folks? But when phone call is not really a channel, maybe not so much, it's very difficult to get people. You have email. And so what I like to say is really, again, this whole simple formula of more conversations equals more sales or more growth, right? It's very simple. So how do we create more conversations? Maybe another way to ask the question is, well, how can I increase my response rates, right? It's not so much about calling more people, like, all right, we're going to call 1,000 more people today. All right, we're going to email 1,000 more people today. We're going to follow up and we're going to send more emails. It's not so much about the channel. It's about, well, it is about the channel, but it's not so much about hammering the channel. It's about using the right channel. And so what I like to say here is tiny text messages, right? You increase the response rates through text messages, but more importantly, tiny text messages, not writing a book, not sending a full email and a text message, super tiny text messages. I'm going to dive into that. And so why add text messaging or why add SMS to your business or to your client's business? First of all, everybody on the planet can text, right? So regardless of what type of phone they have, a dumb phone, smartphone, everybody has a smartphone these days, but everybody can receive and send text messages. 99% open rate, maybe you've heard 97. Either way, 95, 98, 99% open rate is crazy effective. There's low friction. So anybody can, send this out. Anybody can send a text message. You don't have to be an expert. It's passive versus interruptive. Passive texting, I can send a text and they can reply in a day or they can reply in a week. Or a phone call, it's very interruptive, right? Everyone is attached to their phones, me included, probably you as well. It's not owned by Google or Facebook. And so that's actually a benefit because Google can slap you. Facebook can, change their rules and algorithms. FB Messenger has tightened up as well. It can be used in automations. It can be used in follow-ups with existing marketing. A multi-channel. If omni-channel is something that you are wanting to add, text messaging is the first part of adding that, right? Again, we have phone, we have email, we have SMS, and then you have all the other omni-channel presence as well. You can use SMS to initiate one-on-one conversations. You can also use it for mass messaging. It's not a replacement, but it really is an addition to what you are already doing. And I think the biggest benefit is you're already a pro, right? So there's really nothing new to learn. You don't know how to write a subject line or craft an HTML email or learn and take a copywriting course or learn design. You're already a pro. You already know how to text. This can work for you. So again, the big first secret here is conversations equals sales, or conversations equals growth. This is really the first thing to really understand about SMS. And so that is the first one here. Okay, so let's get into it. The three biggest questions about text messaging, again, been doing it a really long time. People tend to ask the same question in a way that gets bucketed into these three. And here are the biggest questions, which is number one is, how do I get phone numbers, right? Number two is, well, where in my business can I add SMS? And then the third question is, well, what do I say, right? Once I've gotten a phone number, or I have strategies to acquire or attract customers and leads, where else in my business can I add that? And then, hey, more importantly, well, what do I say when I'm capturing that information or following up with folks? So we're gonna dive into that. I'm gonna give you some really, really great examples. And it's all sort of based on what HubSpot calls their flywheel. Other companies call it a perfect customer life cycle. But at the end of the day, a business has a function or series of functions that all bucket the same. We're going to attract leads, right? We're going to capture those leads. We're going to engage with those leads or nurture those leads. And then once they've converted, well, then we want to delight them. And we can get referrals and get reviews, right? And all of this now, all across these stages, whether it's attract and capture, engage and nurture, delight and generate referrals, text messaging can play a part in all of this, whether manual, but more importantly, also on the automation side. So let's get into it. How to get the digits. Here's how we get those phone numbers, okay? So the first thing is, well, you can ask for them. And so a lot of people think, oh, how do I do it? Well, a creative way to make it, to ask for that phone number. The reality is just ask for the phone number. And so there's a couple strategies we're gonna dive into. One I call text us, right? This is, you can ask people to text you in ads, in videos, in training, during live webinars like this one, on your website. The second one is web forms. So if you are giving away a special report, a white paper, a free video, a contact us form, a meeting, right? Ask for the email in addition to, or ask for the mobile number in addition to the email. Order forms, you're already capturing a customer, you're asking for a phone number, you have an asset sitting right there. Let's use that asset to help grow our business. And you have Facebook lead ads, right? So where you're capturing those mobile numbers, and you can capture that from Facebook, you capture it from Instagram. A lot of these strategies I will dive into here. So text me. We're going to dive into what this is. And again, these are things that anybody can do. It's not rocket science. It's not hard to do. And my goal is to help you and show you examples on how other folks are using these strategies to grow their business. Super simple stuff. Anybody can do it. So this one is called Still Skeptical, Text Me, but Respect It. It's actually a really important word right there. And so my friend Ryan, this is on his website. He asks people to fill out this form. And then below here, it says, still skeptical, text me your question to this phone number, which is a sales message phone number. And he says, yes, that is my actual phone number. Please respect it. And so what happens is I talked to Ryan. I said, man, how's that working out for you? He said, well, what happens is people that text me are like 95% on the fence, right? Meaning they are just one question away from converting, because those folks that text me, first of all, like they don't want to look bad. And so they are texting Ryan. Ryan answers that question. And if Ryan can answer that question, that is keeping them from buying his course or buying his training, well, then he can easily convert them. And he says like 90% of people that go through that text him, they're going to convert. And so if you're looking for a conversion channel, add that language. It's really, really cool, especially if you have whether an expert or a guru or somebody that is known in the marketplace. This is a great way to add that personal touch to it, and it really works. One of the things that we do too, and it's very simple, but people can text us. So hey, text us your questions. Text us. This becomes a channel. Not only do we have live chat, we have email support, but we also have phone and we have text messaging. And so hey, if you have a question, go ahead and send us a text message. Works really well. We get to engage with our leads, engage with customers as well, and push them into really that next step. So the other one here is text me, right? You can put it in email signatures. So this is Greg Roulette. He has this graphic on the bottom of his emails. He just says, hey, have a question about working together, text me your questions. And this number comes into Salesmsg. He responds to those, but he's adding this whole idea of getting people to text in to create conversation. He's adding it all over the place, and I'll show you some other examples. So he has this in ads, right? Hey, got a question about video, media, or marketing, go ahead and text me. This is a post. He also put this in ads, and so he had a lot of folks just texting in, asking questions that were related to his ad. And so it's a great way to generate leads. This is for on his sales page. Join the virtual video producer now. And again, he has that graphic below, which is very similar to that still skeptical. People can text in, right? So another way to add it. This is a unique way to sort of create consistency. And so when you look at marketing, you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have 4 weeks in a month. And so how can you create a tool or a process or a consistent marketing event that happens every week? And so what Greg did is he has text in Tuesdays. He just has people text in, he answers their questions, and he helps them sort of get to that next step. But it's created this opportunity for Greg to connect with the audience, get a bunch of questions, which then become FAQ for videos. It then becomes content that he can share on his social channels. And so it really creates this consistent way to engage and connect with the customer. So maybe in your business, there's a way that you can add that strategy, right? And this is what happens. Hey, what's your number one objective? To complete my video, create a platform, right? And again, creating this engagement, which can then get into maybe, hey, you know what? I think this is right for your, hey, you know what? Why don't we set up a meeting? I'd love to help you out, right? And pushing people through that. But again, the idea of conversations is good for business. And so how do you create conversations? Well, you have to create opportunities to create conversations. How about on your order form, right? Again, on the far right, you said, hey, text or email me. Here's the phone number. But also too, again, if you have a order form, which most of us all do because we're selling products or services, you're already capturing that phone number. Again, turn that into an asset. Turn it into an asset. And again, you can automate this. You can build it into HubSpot workflows. I'm going to show some of those in just a minute. If you follow Gary Vee, right? Who follows Gary Vee, right? Who follows, this is Joe DeSena, is the founder of Spartan, huge fan. And you've probably seen a lot of this happening lately. Hey, send me a text message. Hey, text me, right? And so this is this whole strategy of a channel. How do we get people from mobile, right, to engage, to create conversation, to go forward? So this is a really cool ad. Grant Cardone, if you know who Grant Cardone is, Grant's a customer. And what he has is, hey, here's an Instagram story. And he says, they sell real estate. I don't want to tell you about the deal. I want to show you 310 units in South Florida. Swipe up to text me. And so what happens when you swipe up, let me see if I can get the video going here. If you're not looking, take a look. Whoops, let me see if I can go back. So on this video, this is me recording this ad. And so what happens is once you swipe up, well, guess what? It opens up the SMS. Goes right to the SMS and says, here's the number, and it says, show me the deal. And so if you're doing Instagram ads, or any sort of ad where you can take them right to the SMS to engage and create that conversation. Super simple, right? Very easy. And then awesome, when they reply back in, great, we can trigger a workflow to automate an outbound text message and then follow up with them. So whether it's on our mobile phone or whether on the desktop with Salesmsg, again, I can show you what that looks like, but that's a cool strategy. It's a great way to, again, create conversation, turn visitors, turn eyeballs into conversations. And then you can go through a qualification process to put them through a funnel. And I'll show you a really cool qualification questionnaire you can put people through. Not sure if you knew it, but guess what? Instagram allows you to have people text you. And so we have a post on how you can set this up. It's very easy. And so you have a little chip that will appear once you add your phone number to Instagram. People can text you right from here. Not a huge channel. Maybe you're not going to get a ton of people, but again, this is a way to get people to text you. So here's an action step. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box. But action step, take a note. Hey, where can I add SMS right now to create conversations, right? Again, if conversations is good for business, conversations will help drive more sales. Cool. What's one way you can do that? Maybe you saw a way right now that you can start to add SMS as a channel to engage. And so let's get to the other part here, which is you can create conversations from web forms, from order forms, from Facebook ads, from chatbots, right? So here is a landing page. First name, email address, and then, hey, enter in a phone number. Again, this is a way that you can capture that information. And then it says right here, we will send you the Little Rocks planner right to your mobile phone via text message. That's kind of neat, right? I've actually seen web forms that are just SMS. It's just a phone field, and capturing that phone, sending over that deliverable, whether it's a PDF or a video, and then capturing maybe that information later. So, you know, maybe for your business, the phone is actually more important than an email. An email maybe you can get later, again, on the order form, but also a chatbot. So Salesmsg, again, is a text messaging platform. It integrates extremely well into HubSpot. And so what this allows you to do is from your chatbot, maybe you're capturing that information, first name, last name, phone number, and then you can say, hey, would it be okay if I followed up over SMS? They click yes, and then boom, you can trigger a workflow. It's very simple to set that up. I actually have that pulled up on my screen. Once we can get to that, I can show you how to set up this workflow. Again, very easy. People may go from a chatbot to SMS. One thing to keep in mind too is, you know, chatbots don't work well on mobile. Have you ever started a chat conversation on your mobile device and then you went to Instagram, right? Or you went to another app, but you're not getting alerted around, oh, that's right, I was just chatting with somebody on chat on my phone. And so that's a challenge. That's a problem for businesses. So if you can take that chat over SMS, well, they can go wherever they want, but then now you can communicate with them over text messaging, right? So taking it from chatbot over to SMS, and especially in the mobile device, you can continue that conversation without interruption, you know, of saying, hey, where are you? Well, they actually did get a notification because they don't have it on their browser there, on their phone. From a web form, super simple. Again, this is Grant Cardone, and they have this checkbox here. Hey, I agree to receive text messages to my phone. There's other language you have to add for SMS. We can dive into some of that compliance side of things as well. But again, you can capture that information. Facebook lead ads. If you're using Facebook to generate leads, well, you can ask for a phone number on the form, and that can then push into HubSpot. I think maybe HubSpot even has that integration with Facebook lead ads. If not, you can use Zapier to capture that information and then push that into HubSpot to start a workflow and then continue that conversation. Again, one thing I haven't really touched on, but it's this whole concept of speed to lead. And so if someone's filling out a form, you know, they expect to be contacted. And the faster that you can engage with somebody instantly, like once that has been put through, once you capture that lead, you're gonna greatly increase your chances for a sale or for a conversion. And so you want to add this element of speed to lead, and sales message and text messaging is a great way to instantly start a conversation with somebody to qualify. And I'll show you a cool example of that. All right, so some ideas, right? They fill out a Facebook lead ad. They fill out an application. Maybe you have an application on your website after somebody buys your product. I'll show you an example of that. Opportunity for upsells, high ticket offers, opportunity to qualify them and push them into a scheduled meeting, a demo, a consultation. Again, I have a cool example of that. So I'll stop right here. Action step, what web forms can you add SMS right now to create more conversations? Again, this idea around creating conversations is good for business, right? Now you can not create conversations, you can still grow. I'll show you some ways on how you can do that too. But think about that. Again, what's the one thing you can do? Not a million things, but what's the one thing you can do to add that 1%, that 5% gain, adding SMS for an appointment reminder. We'll get to that. All these different methods and ways to, again, engage with people. So the other question here, which is that sort of the three biggest questions is, well, where in my business do I add SMS? So we're going to dive into a couple of those ways as well. So one is post opt-in and post purchase follow-up. Again, after somebody opts in, well, what do we say? How do we engage with them? And so this is Greg's example, which I think is a great example. So somebody buys his product, they buy his planning book, and then after purchase, he sends them a text message with a picture. And it's him holding the planner that they just bought. He says, hey, Sean, hey, Merchfield, first name. It's Greg Roulette. Thanks for picking up the video planner. We'll get it out to you ASAP. Let me know if you have any questions or need anything from us. And then Sean went on to have a whole conversation, send this out. And what more importantly, what that signals is, one, you just opened up a channel. You just opened up the opportunity that Sean likes to text. You can have a conversation with Sean. In fact, maybe Sean is going to ask a question that can then qualify into maybe a conversation or into the next phase in there. And so the big thing here is that text message for Greg gets a 20% reply rate. Now, granted, one thing he didn't do here is he didn't really ask a question. He just made a statement. Hey, let me know if there's anything you need. But I'll show with you in a second how you can increase that response rate to 50, 60, 70, 80% if response is what you are looking for. So just from that, again, this was automated, get a 20% response rate. So 279 people replied back to that. Now, maybe they just said, hey, awesome. Thanks, Greg. Or maybe they said, like Sean, hey, this is awesome. Here's some information. Or maybe they said, hey, don't want to get text, whatever it was, but he got 279 people to reply to that text. So someone else took that same example. And Steve, same thing, sold a book or a PDF, right? Think about, for you, don't look at this and go, oh, well, I don't have a book. Well, what about a PDF? What about a diagram? What about a printout? What about a screenshot? What about whatever? Take that same example and just take a picture of yourself, snap it, and boom, add that MMS or add that image to that initial message. Now, again, maybe they downloaded a PDF. Cool, print it out, show it. Doesn't have to be a book. It does not have to be a book. So it's just a great way to, again, open that up and add that personal touch to it. So action step, what post opt-in, post purchase, follow-up campaigns, can you add SMS? If you're capturing a lead somewhere, again, take that same example. Maybe the idea here is, how do I increase that response rate? Man, we're generating a lot of leads from this little ebook or this download or this whatever. How do I engage with them? What's a great way to engage with them right away? Let me just do that. Cool, let me take a picture. Let me put that in HubSpot, automate that SMS, and start to have conversations with those new people coming through. Just add that. And I think you'll be surprised with the amount of conversations you can create. So email action follow-up campaigns or workflows. How do we get a little ninja with some of these campaigns? So one is trigger a text when a prospect does something in a campaign or within a workflow. And I'll show you a couple examples. So here's just some ideas, right? So send a text after they click a link. Send a text after X days they have not taken action. Maybe they didn't do something, right? That will push them through that process. And not to think of just leads, but think of maybe if you have a service and you're waiting for them to provide you a form, or, hey, I'm waiting for you to sign that contract. Hey, I'm waiting for you to send me the copy that we need. I'm waiting for something. And so how you can start to build in messaging to push people through the stage, right? Whatever stages are in your business, map that out. And now you can add SMS to nudge them through that process. So send a text if they have not opened your email. Maybe that email is really important. You can set up a lot of those triggers inside of HubSpot. Send a text after they registered for your webinar. This is actually a really good one. And with Bevy, I wish you would have done it, John, but after somebody registers for a webinar and they include that phone number, engage with them. Hey, awesome, thanks for signing up for the HUG event. What's the number one single biggest question you want us to talk about on the webinar? Oh, I'd love for you to ask that. Love for you to ask that. Love for you to ask that. So you create this conversation that opens that channel. You can continue it afterwards. And again, you create a more engaging conversation that you can take them to the next step, right? Send a text after they book a time on your calendar. This is a great tool. Somebody books on our calendar, books a meeting. Great, we outbound a text message and we ask a question, which I'll get to in a second here. So again, where else can you add this? I talked about post-purchase, post-opt-in, but where else can you add this in your business? So John, I want to stop there. If you have any questions, if not, we can continue on. I know it's about 11:37 and we can get into some of these actual real world campaigns or workflows if you guys want.
Questions, but we can hold them to the end. Nothing worth interrupting for.
Okay, cool. So I will continue on. All right, so the world's easiest way to create conversations, it's very simple. Ask a question. Sort of what Greg made that statement, got a 20% response rate. But if you ask a question, well, inherently this opens a loop. If I ask you a question and you didn't say anything, that would be weird, right? I would ask it again and think like, what's going on? Why is he hear me? What's going on? And so the same way works over SMS. How many times have you asked a question to a friend and they didn't respond after 2 days? You're like, man, what's wrong with them? So that, inherent human behavior you can use to your advantage. And so asking a question. Event registration and content consumption, right? So again, webinar registration. So when somebody registers for the webinar, a first name, an email address, and then put this little language, hey, do you want to get a VIP SMS reminder? The reality is a lot of people forget. Maybe they didn't put it in the calendar, maybe Calendly didn't put it in, or maybe the software they're using didn't actually put a calendar event and they forget. And so one of the biggest challenges for webinars, for live events, is it's not so much about the registration. You get a lot of people to register, but it's all about the attendance. And so if you are having an event and that event is a conversion event where you're generating a sale or you're pushing people into some sort of offer, well, the idea is, well, how do you get a lot of people there? How do you get the most people available or most people possible to join that event? The easiest way, if you want to get a 20, 30% increase in your webinar attendance, send them a text. Literally, that is the easiest way to get a boost. You can tweak copy and you can do all these sort of things, but you can do Facebook ads, but all that stuff is a very convoluted way to set it up. If you just sent a text, you're going to get a massive increase in your attendance rates. So here's another example, right? Mobile phone number, SMS reminder. Now, a lot of people may say, hey, you know what? On the front end, I don't want to decrease conversion rates. Okay, well, why don't you ask for that phone number on the second page or on the thank you page? So here's an example that we actually had, which is after somebody registers, we were capturing email, first name and email. And then on the landing page, we would say, hey, if you wanted to get a text message reminder, go ahead and fill this out. They'd fill it out, boom. We would add them to a list, and then we would send out that text message reminder. Again, you can build all this and automate it in HubSpot. Post-registration consumption. I'm going to speed it up here, John, just because we're about 20 minutes off. But again, after somebody registers for something, maybe it's a course, maybe it's piece of content, how to get them to consume it and not overwhelm folks. But one of the things that we've learned well is the best engagement is when you have a graphic attached to a text message with a call to action. So in Greg's example, he has a picture of essentially what they're going to get when they click the link. And it's going to take them over to that video, that training. So adding both image with a link, with text, you're going to get a greater response rate, especially in that first initial SMS, right? So this is a good example of, we talk about the attract side, but the challenge with attracting a lot of leads is, well, gosh, you got to qualify them. And so we had a customer that was booking a lot of Calendly, booking a lot of meetings, showing up to a lot of presentations. And what he realized is, wow, these folks are not qualified. I thought we were doing a good job with qualifying these people, but he was spending a lot of time hopping on calls with folks that weren't really qualified for his service. And so rather than outbounding and having SDR and calling them and them not picking up and them going through that whole dance on trying to, before the webinar was booked, trying to understand, is this a qualified lead? And so he said, you know what, let me take a step back. Let me add SMS. Let me see if I can qualify them over SMS. And so if you're not looking at the screen, you'll want to take a look at this because this is really impactful. So how do you qualify at scale using SMS? And so when somebody filled out their application, they sent this text message. Hi, first name, it's lead owner, first name, last name from company. Just saw your assessment form come through. Wanted to text you with a few follow-up questions based on what I saw with your assessment form to work it out or how I can help you. I feel like I can help you. If I feel like I can help you, we'll schedule a call to discuss further. Is that okay with you? Asking a question. Yep, that sounds great. Okay, great. Did you get a chance to watch the webinar, the video, the presentation, right? How are you gonna have a conversation with somebody when they don't know what you're doing? Yeah, I did, it was great. Well, what part of the presentation made you feel like this is the right approach for you? Well, the thing where you talked about that thing, right? Is this something you're looking to pull the trigger on right now? Which if you followed any BANT or any sort of qualification framework, is this urgent? Or is this something next year or 2 years down the road? And so, hey, is this something you're looking to pull the trigger on now? Assuming we can provide clear value to you. So he's really using a BANT formula in SMS to understand a lot of those things about the qualification. Our services start at a lot of money. I don't want to waste anyone's time if that's not within your budget. I'm very familiar with your space, and I obviously want to speak with you first. Does your budget allow for that level of investment? If not, well, then it may not make sense. If yes, then great, let's hop on a call right now, or let's go ahead and book something. And so again, when you're getting all these leads coming through, this is a great way to qualify them very quickly and understand, hey, are we a fit? Are they a fit for us? And I don't want to waste anyone's time. And so it's worked really well. And so he went from doing like 1 or 2 sales a week. Again, he was selling $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 packages to selling 5, right? So he basically doubled the amount of throughput and amount of sales just by adding this new layer. And it allowed him to actually get a lot more leads coming through the pipe because again, he was sort of constrained with the people part. And these are all canned messages that you can point and click and essentially send that out. So decrease no-shows and increase attendance. So again, we talked about the webinar side. If you're doing any webinars, if you're doing any meetings, this is the best text. And so when you go to lunch with a friend, right? Tomorrow, let's say I'm going to lunch at noon. I want to make sure that I don't show up and he's not there. And so what I will do is I will send a text in the morning, like, hey man, are we still on for lunch at noon? Yep, they'll reply back. If not, well, great, I can change around my schedule. That's the same stuff that should work within your business, and it does. So take this text, you can send it 1 hour before or the day of. Hey, first name, are we still on for your sales message demo in 1 hour? Hey, are we still on for our call today? Right, and so this gives one, confirmation. You want them to confirm with you that yes, they're going to show up. And so that just creates the consistency the commitment they made to show up in that demo, that webinar, that demo, or whatever it is. But also, if they can't do it, great. Well, let's go ahead and reschedule. Are you better at 2 o'clock versus 1, right? And so it just creates this commitment and consistency to what they agreed to. It's a great text message. Use it. It works really, really well. And you can send this from the contact owner in HubSpot and that. All right. This is the last one, and then we can sort of get into some other stuff. All right, so customer communication, right? If you're onboarding, you're talking with folks, there's a really cool app I use. It's called Commit Action. And once a week, we sort of set my game plan. Hey, here's what I want to focus on. And so she keeps me accountable by messaging me and texting me. And, hey, did you get done what you had to get done? Or, hey, I needed that PDF. Hey, I needed this, I needed that. And so this is a great way to use SMS to engage. All right, I'm gonna save this one for last. I'm gonna go through it real quick. But this is what I call the cold prospect reactivator, AKA the magic message. And so everybody, every business, we all have cold leads or cold prospects or people that were really interested in our product or service at one time. And this story, this text message here is friend Brian. He's a really great marketer. His mother's dance studio was essentially failing after 30 years in business. It started trending down. And Brian, being a great marketer, said, well, let me do everything I can. Let me create lead magnets and landing pages and this and that and Facebook ads and all this sort of stuff. And it somewhat worked, but it really didn't to what he thought it would work. And so he said, well, let me just start texting those leads that come in. So they did. They started using their own personal phone, but the girl at the front desk forgot to text. And these people sort of, went through the funnel and weren't able to respond. And so, but it worked. And so they started to, automate that SMS engagement once a lead came in. And so this is the text. Once they added texting to the business, it really exploded their company, exploded the business. And so he says, P.S. Ballet Studio is straight up exploding because of SMS. Started helping 2 years ago, 70 kids, going to be over 400 after this push. Now, keep in mind, for 30 years, she was like on this downward trend, really in the last couple of years. And then Brian came in, added SMS, and essentially, I'm really bad at math, maybe 3 times it, 4 times it, 5 times it, but like grew that business. And he says, just sent the blurred out text, oh my God, the response is insane. Revenue's up 300%. So let me share with you guys what that text message was. And going back to the beginning, I said tiny text messages is the way to grow. And so this text, again, Brian went from 70 kids to 400, revenue's up 300%. That's pretty amazing. And this was the text that they sent to cold leads, right? Maybe you have cold prospects or cold customers. And whether you use Salesmsg or another tool, text your past cold prospects and say, hey, are you still interested in texting for your business? Hey, John, it's Chris over at Salesmsg. Still interested in texting for your business? Hey, Chris, it's John at Maury. Are you still interested in getting your HubSpot account set up, right? And guess what? I'm going to get that text. I'm going to go, oh, yeah, John, I've been meaning to talk to you. And so it's such a great text. You can use it today and start to see a good response from that. Because, again, it's not about getting the sale. It's about getting the response, about getting the engagement, about having a conversation to get to booking that next call or booking that meeting. And again, you can outbound this. So 3 big secrets: conversation equals sales, ask a question, and keep it simple. Now, I didn't really share these workflows, but I want to share these with you. So real quick, Salesmsg is a text messaging platform. And so we provide phone numbers. You can send and receive text messages from the computer. You can send it from our mobile app, and it all integrates into HubSpot really, 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 really nicely. So you can add SMS into a workflow. So for example, and I have a bunch of examples here, is sort of the examples I mentioned when somebody goes through a web form. Well, how do we automate a text message to engage with them? So I have a section here called attract, right? Again, HubSpot's attract, convert, delight. Well, great. Well, what are the campaigns? What are the workflows we can set up to attract and capture those leads? We can set up the swipe to SMS workflow. We could set up the web form to engage SMS to ask that question workflow. We can round robin those leads. So when we have somebody come in and they fill out a demo or they fill out a web form, well, we can send the text coming from the owner. So if I own that lead, great, send it from my phone number. If John owned the lead, great, send it from John's number, and John can have that conversation. It's all tied back into HubSpot, and we can set that stuff up, right? So chat flows. So if you wanted to add SMS into a HubSpot chat flow, in this case, we had, what is your phone number, right? They then respond with that phone number. It gets passed into the phone number field inside of HubSpot. Would you like us to follow up via SMS? If yes, great. We'll then go over to this workflow and we can start that workflow, which is this one, right? Starts the workflow, sends this SMS, and it's really simple to add texting to a workflow, right? This is really it. You add the phone number. I can select who I want to send the text messages coming from, right? And then I can add merge field tokens to personalize that. So whatever information you are collecting, you can personalize it from that text. If you wanted to add a picture, you can insert that URL here. And again, what happens is that outbounds that text and it all comes into sales message, so you can send and receive those text messages. I know I've gone through a lot, but one of the cool things is right from the contact record, you can send and receive those texts. So from here, I can see this text. I can send over a picture. I can merge in a field into whatever it is, whatever personal or custom property, I can insert it into sales message. I can have canned messages. So again, sort of that qualification. If I wanted to insert that message over here, well, I can do that, and then I can send that text. So it's pretty simple to add SMS. Again, that's what sales message does. John, I know you came on the video here, so wanted to bring you on if you had questions and can answer those.
Yeah. I came on just as we were getting close to time here, knowing there are some questions that came through, and I really want to draw the connection, just like you're showing us these example workflows. I want to draw the connection for our visitors, our users here, our attendees here, how this can be leveraged with HubSpot if it needs to be integrated. Because some people might be looking at this saying, man, this sounds great. On my demo form, request a demo, still have questions, text me first. Why do I need a sales message, or what do I need the integration component of this for? Would you mind describing, you can start slowly doing this on your own, but you're going to be missing out on A, the automation side, or B, monitoring a pipeline properly. Can you talk a bit about the benefits of integrating?
Yeah, HubSpot, they have internal SMS. And so if you wanted to send a text message to yourself, right? Or you wanted to send a text message to a HubSpot user, you can do that. But there's not a tool or not a way that HubSpot will outbound SMS text messages. And so, sales message, the core competency of the product is all on messaging, is all on SMS. So if you wanted to get, in this case, a 561 phone number, if I wanted a 415 number, maybe I already have an existing landline number that I want to text enable, right? And then have a tool like Sales Message to send and receive those text messages, two-way, but also, on the automation. I want HubSpot to be the brain to help me figure out, hey, when somebody texts in this keyword, great, trigger this workflow. When, whatever conditions and filters, HubSpot is the brain, and then HubSpot then just tells Sales Message, hey, send that message, right? Send this text message. And so the idea is use HubSpot for all the conditions, all the brain of that, and then now you can add in SMS into the overall platform, right?
Perfect. So we do have a couple questions coming through. Do you mind if we dive into those here now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, wonderful. So I actually posed one in the beginning, and this, just related to maybe like GDPR, data protection. And somebody, Kyle, just asked a question about thoughts on cold texting as part of an outbound sales sequence. Legally, are we allowed to text message people if they haven't opted in or checked something specifically, captured a legal basis for processing or whatever it might be?
Sure. Yeah, for cold prospecting, so there's a lot of just, SMS has evolved and changed. In fact, now there's a new rule. It's called 10 DLC. I'm not going to go into all the mechanics behind that, but this new rule is really built to keep the integrity of messaging clean and proper, right? And so the idea to cold prospect somebody is what the carriers consider is called A to P. That means application to person. Now, you can text somebody from your own phone, right? So you can go in, you can text someone, and I mean, literally, if you wanted to grab a list and just start texting people from your own personal phone, you're not going to get in trouble for that because this is considered peer-to-peer texting.
Mm-hmm.
But the rules have changed that now any software, this is not Salesman, this is any tool, right? Even HubSpot with their own tool. Any tool is now considered A to P. So, the long answer is no, don't do it. But as people come in, whether it's through a web form, right, you can have that checkbox, which again has that specific language. But if people text in, well, texting in is a form of an opt-in, right? There's no way that you didn't outbound to them. Well, they texted in, and so that's a great mechanism to again get people to open that channel, engage with that channel, and then for messaging, maybe hey, text. So for example, I have this. So if you wanted to get these workflows, you can text HUG to that phone number, right? So text HUG to this phone. That's going to push it. That's going to capture that data inside of Salesmsg. And then guess what? We can push it to HubSpot. We could capture an email. We can put them into a workflow and go through that process, right? But if you wanted these workflows, we can provide that to you guys. So hopefully that answers the question. But yeah, anything cold, you don't want to really do it. One, it's not going to benefit you. But number two is legally, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I think that does answer the question really well. Texting is not a way to just go out and blast as many people as possible, but it can really make your processes more efficient. Your example of, the requested demo, still have questions or have questions first, text me, that starts the conversation. The qualification, the lead qualification is also incredible. You could have 100 people filling out your demo request form. And if their, company isn't of a certain size, you still want to help them, but you don't want to bother your sales team. So, thanks for requesting a demo. Before we get together, just have a couple questions. How large is your team? And when they respond back with a number, HubSpot can be triggered by whatever message they respond with and say, okay, we're going to put them into this bucket. Let's send them the pre-recorded webinar. That's going to be the way that we service them. Whereas if they're above a certain threshold, let's bring in the sales team. Let's bring in the service team. Let's bring in someone that way. So automating that lead qualification does seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
On the service side, I've worked with a lot of companies, a lot of HubSpot users that are leveraging Salesmsg. And one of the best examples, it was something I shared in a video leading up to this event, is a company that sells a product that requires or should have a lot of repeat business. They have filters for their homes. And when you buy a filter, it says, when you're purchasing this product, it says you'll need to replace this in 6 months. Would you like to be notified via text? So you're now in a workflow that says this is the product they purchased. That one needs to be replaced every 6 months, every 12 months, every, so on and so forth. So we set the workflows to say, just a reminder. And if they don't purchase again, we can continue to help bring them through and encourage that repeat business. Yeah. This is a way to really help your customers when they forget, oh man, I totally forgot I was supposed to replace my home filters.
Right.
When you talk about no-show meetings, we have a client in the hospitality space. They host weddings at their venue. And so often people want to come by and visit. And when people weren't showing up, they introduced SMS texting to say an hour before their scheduled appointment, just confirming you'll be here in an hour. We want to make sure that we're ready for you. I'm running late or I need to reschedule, as opposed to saying, 50% no shows. We're now getting that down to 10% no shows and rescheduling people when appropriate. So you can really for anybody watching this can think about your specific business and your specific use case and come up with some really creative ways of how you can improve your processes, closing new business, supporting your existing customers, just providing value. And I think it's fun to start going down this path of, man, I never thought of text messaging, such an intimate channel, such a powerful channel as something that you as a business can leverage.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And again, it's really about, I've seen some bad messages and people take an email and they put in an SMS and they're like, why didn't it work? Well, when have you ever sent a book to somebody over texting? Like, come
Yeah.
on, So you got to keep it simple, keep it short. The most effective ones are, again, just short, simple, to the point. And again, if you want to engage, ask a question. So John, I know we're coming up, but if anybody wants to start a free 14-day trial for Sales Message, just go to salesmessage.com/NYC HUG, and you can start that trial. The integration with HubSpot is very seamless. There's a million ways you can add SMS. We've got a lot of tutorials and stuff. And John is like a whiz. He's the guy I go to. I'm like, John, how do we do that? How do we do this? Oh my God, John will come in and tweak all that out. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody's time, and I know we're pumping it out here. I was trying to pump as much content as possible into this, and again, if you guys wanted some of these workflows here, again, which I didn't really have much time to get into, but I broke it down to attract, convert, delight, and how we can implement those workflows into HubSpot. So whether it's a swipe up campaign or a web form or the round robin or nurturing campaigns, the delight one, we have like, how do you get referrals and reviews? There's a workflow for that. So
Yeah, and with that, I'd like to offer up to anybody in the New York City HUG chapter here. I have access to my own sales message account. I have access to a couple of places where I can demo for you how you could potentially leverage this. So if anybody would like to connect with me one-on-one, feel free to find me. I'll throw my email. You can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/John Sasala. I'll throw my email though also in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. You can also find me at the community.hubspot.com. Just search for New York City, and I have a lot of posts in there, so you can find me that way. But I'd love to help you explore ideas or explore ways that you could potentially leverage SMS messaging within your organization.
cool. Well, John, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining, and I'm sure the recording will be available after this. But again, thank you everybody. John, much appreciated, and I hope everyone is well in New York with everything going on. So thank you so much, and John, hope to see you. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for this. Really appreciate you presenting to everybody. So as we wrap up here, New York City Huggers, keep an eye out for the next event that will be shared with you. If you have other people that you want to join our community, please encourage them to register over at the community.hubspot.com. And we will see you guys next quarter. Bye, folks.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks.